The corporate office of Halstead and Green, a name once synonymous with innovation and careful leadership, hummed quietly on an early Monday morning. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, scattering over the polished hardwood floors and minimalist chrome furniture. It was a Monday like any other, or so it seemed. Into this world of quiet efficiency stormed a new face. Victoria Lang, freshly appointed as Vice President of Operations. Her heels clicked sharply against the marble floors, each step a deliberate assertion of authority. The employees she passed instinctively straightened, half in awe, half in apprehension. Victoria carried herself with a precision that suggested confidence, but beneath that veneer, there was something sharper, more brittle. She was ambitious, hungry, and unaccustomed to the patience or subtlety required to navigate a seasoned corporate environment. Victoria's first act, predictably, was to assert dominance. Within the first 15 minutes of her tenure, she had already summoned department heads into meetings, questioned workflows, and made unilateral decisions that unsettled the office's rhythm. In her mind, authority came from title alone. Respect, she assumed, was automatic. Meanwhile, Daniel Harper sat at his desk, watching. At 42, Daniel was a man of quiet competence. His hair had begun to silver at the temples, his suit always immaculately pressed, his demeanor calm, deliberate, almost unremarkable to the casual observer. He had been with Halstead and Green for nearly 20 years, rising from a junior analyst to a trusted senior executive. Few knew the breadth of his influence, or the subtle power he wielded behind the scenes. He was a man who understood people, the nuances of management, and the intricacies of corporate life. But today, Daniel's usual calm was tested. He had noticed Victoria's arrival from the moment she stepped through the revolving doors, the way she scrutinized employees as if they were chess pieces. He had seen her first mistakes, the snap judgments, the lack of context, the assumption that authority was synonymous with understanding, and he had waited, quietly, observing. By mid-morning, the tension had escalated. Victoria, having reviewed departmental reports, had decided she would make an example. Daniel Harper would be fired. The decision had no basis beyond ego. She assumed Daniel's decades of service could not protect him from her swift judgment. She summoned him to her glass-walled office, her expression cool, calculating. "Mr. Harper," she began, her voice clipped, each word a deliberate strike. "I've reviewed your performance reports. There are deficiencies in your department's output. And frankly, I cannot condone these mistakes under my leadership. I'm terminating your employment, effective immediately." Daniel looked up from his leather chair. There was a calmness in his gaze, a patience that did not waver. He leaned back slightly, his fingers interlaced. "I see," he said softly. "Not shock, not anger, just observation." Victoria's lips pressed into a thin line. "Do you have a response?" she demanded. Daniel allowed himself a small, almost imperceptible smile. "I would, but I don't believe a response is necessary," he said. "You're entitled to your opinion, of course." Her frustration flared. "Not entitled. This is my company now. I make the decisions, and my decision is that you will terminate me." Daniel interrupted gently. "Yes, I heard." Victoria's eyes narrowed. "Do you not understand the gravity of this situation?" Daniel leaned forward slightly. "I understand it perfectly. But I think we need to clarify something before you make any irreversible mistakes." Victoria blinked, caught off guard by his composure. "Clarify," she asked, her voice slightly uncertain now. "I'm not sure what you mean." Daniel stood, walking slowly toward her desk. He moved with a subtle authority, the kind that comes not from title but from presence, from confidence forged through years of observing human behavior. He stopped in front of her, meeting her gaze directly. "You assume authority because you have a title," he said evenly. "You assume power because you occupy a corner office. But there is a difference between authority and influence, between position and ownership." Victoria frowned. "I don't follow." Daniel paused, then carefully removed a small envelope from his inner jacket pocket. He placed it on the glass table between them, sliding it across to her. She looked down, curiosity piqued despite herself. Inside was a letter on Halstead and Green letterhead, formally signed, Daniel Harper, founder and majority shareholder, Halstead and Green Corporation. Her mouth went dry. Her eyes widened as the truth sank in, slowly and incomprehensibly. Every strategic assumption she had made about control, about authority, collapsed in that instant. "You," she began, voice trembling, "you own the company." Daniel nodded, his calm unwavering. "I've been here since the beginning, building this company from the ground up. Every decision, every hire, every structural change, these walls, these systems, they're my creation. And yet, I have always trusted the people around me to manage their responsibilities with respect and diligence. I didn't expect to have to clarify that today." Victoria's knees felt weak. She had stormed into the office with the certainty of power, the arrogance of assumed dominance, and she had been blind to the reality beneath the surface. She had judged a man who had orchestrated the very world she had attempted to command. The room was silent. Outside the glass walls, employees paused mid-task, sensing the sudden tension radiating through the floor. The office had been a calm, controlled environment moments ago. Now, it was charged with an almost tangible shock. Daniel's voice cut through the quiet, deliberate and unyielding. "Respect is earned, Ms. Lang, not assumed. Authority is not given by a title. It is recognized through competence, humility, and understanding. You came here attempting to exercise power without knowledge. That is a dangerous mistake." Victoria swallowed hard, words failing her. She could not respond, could not retract, could not undo the damage of her assumptions. After a long pause, Daniel's tone softened, not in pity, but in the measured voice of someone willing to teach a lesson rather than punish a misstep. "I will not terminate you," he said finally, "but I will expect you to demonstrate the qualities required to lead effectively. You will apologize to the team for your actions this morning, and you will take the time to understand the people you work with before issuing ultimatums." The relief that should have followed was muted by the lingering weight of humiliation. Victoria bowed her head slightly, nodding. "I understand," she whispered, the sharp edges of her confidence dulled by the encounter. Daniel allowed a small, approving smile. "Good. Let this be a lesson not just about me, but about leadership. True power lies not in commanding fear, but in earning respect. That is the only way influence lasts." The aftermath of the revelation rippled through Halstead and Green. Employees exchanged glances, some in astonishment, others in cautious admiration. The story of the morning's confrontation spread quickly. A tale of humility, authority, and the dangers of assumption. Victoria faced her colleagues with a newfound deference. her previous bravado replaced by quiet determination. She worked diligently to rebuild trust, her ambition now tempered by the lessons she had learned. Daniel, for his part, returned to his office with the same measured grace he had always possessed. There was no gloating in his demeanor, no triumphalism, only the quiet satisfaction of a man who had reminded others that true leadership is rooted in wisdom, patience, and humility. Weeks later, Victoria approached him privately, a folder in hand. "Mr. Harper, I wanted to thank you for giving me the chance to correct myself, to learn. I was wrong this morning. I see that now." Daniel looked at her, reading sincerity in her eyes. "The opportunity to learn is always available to those willing to listen," he replied. "Do not let ambition blind you again. The greatest leaders are those who can see the world as it is, not as they wish it to be." Victoria nodded, determination and respect interwoven in her posture. "I won't forget this," she said. Daniel smiled faintly. "I hope not. That would be a mistake." By the end of the quarter, the office had settled into a new rhythm. Victoria's leadership had grown wiser, tempered by the lesson of that unforgettable morning. Employees felt the renewed stability, and morale rose. They understood that power and influence were not interchangeable, that titles alone could never dictate respect, and that humility often preceded the greatest achievements. And as for Daniel, he continued to lead, not from fear or spectacle, but from the steady, quiet force of someone who had built an empire, understood its people, and knew that respect once earned was far more powerful than any fleeting act of authority. The story of that Monday morning, the day the new boss tried to fire the man who owned the company, would become a lesson in the annals of Halstead and Green, a lesson in power, humility, and the unshakable truth that leadership is not granted, it is earned. Years later, when Victoria herself rose to become CEO, she often reflected on that day. She remembered the shock, the humility, and the clarity that came from recognizing the truth. True authority is invisible until it chooses to reveal itself, and respect is the currency of leadership. And in that lesson lay the enduring secret of the company's success. Those who assume, rush, or act without understanding will stumble. Those who watch, learn, and act with integrity will endure and perhaps one day inherit the legacy of a quiet, unassuming man who owned it all.